What's up, surveillors? I'm back with another video. I'm breaking down the movie In Time.
Time is now the currency. We earn it and spend it. The rich can live forever. And the rest of us? I just want to wake up with more time on my hand than hours in the day.
So if you watch this movie and you're pretty good at reading between the lines, you know this movie is about digital money, about becoming a cashless society, and how flawed and rigged the system is in favor of the wealthy. And the laws that we have on the books right now, if we did switch over to a cashless society, which is coming pretty soon, you'll see how demonic and oppressive the banking system can be. So how are we going to be propelled into a cashless society? The coronavirus. They're going to say that disease is on the money and we cannot be exchanging that anymore. We have to become a cashless society. So let's go to the book The War on Cash by David McRee. Law enforcement officers are seizing cash from anyone they think is carrying too much cash. If you have more than a couple $100 on you, you're suspected of being a drug dealer or a terrorist. No drugs or bombs need to be in your possession. The cash is evidence.
Where did you get that?
I won it. Gambling.
All of it?
No. A man named Henry Hamilton gave me over a century. He said he didn't need it anymore. He timed himself out.
Henry Hamilton was worth thousands of years. He could practically live forever. You expect me to believe that he was immortal and he wanted to die?
I don't expect you to believe it. But it's the truth.
Governments, federal, state, and local, now have a powerful tactic. Since law enforcement is often frustrated by its inability to gather enough evidence to convict someone of a crime, they have decided to make it legal to simply confiscate all the cash carried by someone they suspect might have obtained the cash by illegal means without needing evidence of any kind.
That time will be held, along with you.
We'll leave you 2 hours for booking and processing.
Simply the possession of a large amount of cash is enough to provide reasonable suspicion to everyday law enforcement that you have either committed a crime or are planning to. As with many questionable use of force, the confiscation of cash from suspects has its roots in a long and violent drug war. Remember Nancy Reagan's Just Say No campaign against drugs in the 1980s? Well, now it's just say no to carrying too much cash, lest you look like a drug dealer or a terrorist.
This is insane. They can take your time just like that.
You're likely to find yourself in trouble if you do any of the following on a regular basis. Deposit significant amounts of cash in your bank account, withdraw significant amounts of cash from your bank account, purchase expensive items with cash, carry large amounts of cash, more than perhaps 1,000 or so, who knows. But how does the government know how much cash you're withdrawing or depositing, and how often you do it? As we've seen earlier in our discussion of Operation Choke Point, the government employs financial services firms like banks to keep an eye on their customers. Banks are required to report certain cash transactions to the government or face serious repercussions. Your bank teller is spying on you. A bank has to file a currency transaction report, CTR, for every transaction in currency that is more than $10,000. Transaction means deposits, withdrawals, exchanges, or other payments or transfers by, through, or to the bank.
Sir, you're right. If you turn back the clocks to the day of Hamilton's death, look at the time checks. Someone spent years crossing 4 different time zones from Dayton
To New Greenwich. Cameras picked up on his suspicious behavior. He's conscious of the surveillance. He doesn't have a bodyguard, and he runs.
You're looking for a match?
His name is Will Salas.
You know?
No.
The ideal monetary system from a government perspective is a cashless system where all of your transactions are electronic and therefore traceable directly to you. The CTR law is so draconian that even if you're not engaged in money laundering, drug trafficking, or any other crime, you can still be in prison for up to 5 years and fined up to $500,000 for trying to avoid having your cash transaction reported to the government by making a series of small deposits that add up to $10,000 or more. The government has a word for this: structuring. The CTR is not the only method financial institutions have for reporting you to the government. Another reporting mechanism is called the Suspicious Activity Report, SAR. It can be triggered by an activity that appears suspicious.
Someone spent years crossing 4 different time zones from Dayton
To New Greenwich. Cameras picked up on his suspicious behavior.
Although it can be triggered by non-financial activity, cash transactions of $5,000 or more that seem as though they may be tied to some possible illegal activity can result in bank filing a SAR. Just inquiring about whether a transaction you're about to conduct would generate a CTR may be enough to trigger the filing of a SAR.
4 minutes for a cup of coffee?
Yesterday it was 3. You want coffee or you want to reminisce?
2 coffees.
Page 55. We can guard against theft and loss by keeping cash in a home safe or in the bank safe. We can shield cash from lawsuits by purchasing insurance. But can we protect our cash from confiscation by governments, either physically through taxation, outright seizure, or through inflation? Inflation is one of those things that the average person does not understand. Simply put, inflation means that dollars are worth less now than they were before. A dollar buys less today than it did yesterday. This means that prices increase to accommodate the lower worth of the dollar.
Dayton.
2 hours.
It's always been an hour.
Well, now it's 2. Price went up.
Since when?
Since today.
Everyone needs to understand that inflation doesn't just happen. It is created by the government. The government creates new money all the time as part of its monetary policy. You've heard of quantitative easing. It's the latest term of government and Federal Reserve, printing more money and injecting it into the economy in vain hopes of kickstarting the economy. When the government prints too much money, it increases the amount of dollars in the economy without increasing the amount of stuff people want to buy. This makes all the dollars worth less relative to the goods. This is inflation. It robs you just as if someone put a gun to your head and made you hand over part of your checking account. It's a hidden tax, but the inflation tax is not progressive, meaning it doesn't hit the rich harder. Inflation is the cruelest tax because it takes desperately needed purchasing power away from the poor and retirees who are living on a savings and fixed income. Just as when you add water to fresh orange juice, it dilutes the taste of the juice. When the government adds too much dollars to the economy, it dilutes the purchasing power of the dollars.
No, you don't understand. All they have to do is keep raising the cost of living. 100 years, 2, 1,000. It does nothing.
So what, we just stop fighting?
We can't win.
When the government creates lots of new dollars, it dilutes the purchasing power of all dollars. This means prices go up. Your money, including your cash, is worth less than before the new money was created. That's inflation.
Why do you think there are time zones? Why do you think taxes and prices go up the same day in the ghetto? The cost of living keeps rising to make sure people keep dying. How else could there be men with 1,000,000 years while most live day to day?
Page 185. An equal opportunity society with respect to wealth would operate similarly to an equal opportunity society with respect to income. No matter how wealthy your parents, you will have an equal chance as an adult of ending up anywhere in a national wealth distribution. But nearly half, 41% of children born to parents in the least wealthiest fifth of American families remain in the lowest quintile as adults. Another 25% make it to the next lowest wealth quintile, meaning that only 1/3 of children born to the least wealthy American families make it as high as the middle quintile in wealth.
Why do you think there are time zones? Why do you think taxes and prices go up the same day in the ghetto?
The creation of racial ghettos was self-perpetuating. Residents in a community where economic disadvantage is concentrated itself depresses disposable income, which makes departure more difficult. Certainly some children overcome these difficulties, but the average child living in a poor household is less likely to escape poverty as an adult, and the average child living in a poor household in a poor neighborhood is even less likely to do so. The cycle can be broken only by a policy as aggressive as that which created ghettos of concentrated poverty in the first place.
Try to understand, even if you gave a year to 1,000,000 people, you're just prolonging their agony.
We're prolonging their lives.
Flooding the wrong zone with 1,000,000 years. It could cripple the system.
Let's hope so.
Is that so? You might upset the balance for a generation. 2. But don't fool yourself. In the end, nothing will change. Because everyone wants to live forever. They all think they have a chance at immortality, even though all the evidence is against it. They all think they will be the exception. But the truth is, for a few to be immortal, many must die.
The New World Order cannot and will not allow a constitution to exist. The New World Order will be a totalitarian socialist system. We'll be slaves shackled to a cashless system of economic control. Page 109. The fourth industrial revolution is the integration of technologies like artificial intelligence, blockchain, virtual reality, biotech, robotics, fintech, and the Internet of Things. Rather than being driven by steam, electricity, or computer automation, the fourth industrial revolution is driven by a massive collection of data, your private data. It's about spotting patterns, predicting your behavior, and ultimately changing your behavior. It requires total surveillance, and that means eliminating anonymous cash transactions. The big corporations know that if they can identify your buying patterns, your moods, your personal situation, your location, your friends, your interests, they can put an offer in front of you at exactly the right moment to get you to make a purchase that you ordinarily wouldn't make. Right now, probably the only things in your home that are transmitting data to corporations, governments, spies, and hackers are your personal computer, your tablet, your smartphone, your television cable box, and perhaps an automobile. Many more things will soon be connected to your home Wi-Fi or cell towers, your refrigerator, stove, air conditioner and heating system, lighting fixtures, washer and dryer, garage door opener, lawnmowers, and many more things. Other items you purchase may have an RFID chip that the internet-connected devices in your home can read. With all transactions taking place electronically, you'll lose all privacy. Your health insurance company will know how much beer you drink, how many candy bars and donuts you buy, and which over-the-counter medications you take, which might indicate health risks and will increase your premiums. Certainly, there are benefits to having a completely transparent life. It's like not being able to tell a lie. Just as with targeted internet ads that seem to follow you from one site to another, businesses will be able to target you for your complete and unfiltered buying behavior and history. They will know more about you than your spouse or your parents. Most people, I hope, will conclude that the price of the loss of privacy is too high. Giving up cash doesn't mean you're giving up your privacy. It means you're completely giving up control over your money to the banks and to the government. With a click of a mouse, your bank and brokerage accounts could be closed and emptied. If cash is abolished and all your money is electronic, there's no place for you to keep it except in a bank. Your money is, in effect, held hostage by the bank and the government.
Isn't this just the next logical step in our evolution? And hasn't evolution always been unfair? It's always been survival of the fittest.
This is merely Darwinian capitalism. Natural selection.